to Leader You by Black River Performance Management, where we believe work should fuel the human spirit, not drain it. In this leadership podcast, we will dive into the lived experiences of people flourishing in today's workplace and beyond. Join us to hear real-life examples of experiences from our own lives and from the leaders we know and trust. Thank you for joining the Leader You podcast. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing Mary Christensen. Mary is a proven award-winning business owner, and she knows what it means to launch and grow a successful business that encompasses expert leadership development matched with integrity. She further knows that preparing and mentoring healthcare leaders, from young prospects to CEOs, helps drive an organization's systemic renewal. Mary's 20-some years of working in healthcare operations and management have proven that her long-term investment in leader performance results in an organization's long-term cultural and financial success. Mary's been working with C-suite leaders for over 20 years. This work has grown out of her experience, purpose, and passion for working with individuals who like and learn to grow within their environment. These individuals have tended to be constant leaders, curious and growth-oriented. Mary understands that a leader's successful performance does not simply end where he or she reaches the time for retirement. To the contrary, she knows that retirement invites a series of important psychological and emotional changes. Each of these requires thoughtful examination and resolution. Mary recognizes the importance of this critical transition. She is also prepared to guide leaders from any discipline as they create purposeful and rewarding retirement for themselves and their loved ones. Mary is committed to her life and to work to following Jesus. This includes helping individuals that apply gifts of God, love to their lives and to the lives of those whom they have relationships. Mary received her human resource management education from Cardinal Stritch University and her healthcare management education from the University of Central Florida. A respected leader in the healthcare community, she received the 2010 Emerging Women's Business Owner of the Year award from the National Association of Women Business Owners. Additionally, she was a finalist in the 2016 Women's Health Leadership Trust Award for an Emerging Company Woman Leader in Healthcare. This combination of Mary's education and broad experience has enabled her to develop a broad base of relationships in the healthcare world. This has empowered her to handpick her team of exceptional talent. This level of talent comes prepared to transform her clients' good leaders into great leaders. Mary's gift for identifying experience, evaluating client leadership needs, and matching her exceptional leaders with client partners empowers her to deliver extraordinary success for her clients. That is a lot of accomplishments over 20 years. Mary, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for inviting me to be on your podcast, Angie. It's a pleasure, and I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Me too. So we met a while back to discuss this, and we were talking about how important this time in our lives is and how transitions are not only, they're psychological as it relates to making some of these transitions. And there's a lot of emotions and a lot of issues related to identity and things like that that people might not really take into account. But we know that people have a lot of talent in the jobs that they're in, and how we use tools and how we use frameworks to actually help people recognize their strengths that could launch them into the second half of life and into maybe repurposing versus retirement.
Yes, absolutely.
So I'm excited for this discussion, and first, let's start off with your story and what led you to this. I mean, I know you were in healthcare, but what when you were a little girl, like, how did you dream of doing this, right?
Right. Well, I will say when I was a little girl, I actually thought I was going to be a nurse, but I ended up not going down that path. But I'll even start with my grandparents. So I grew up in a home that very much respected and honored our elders. And I think when I think about where I am today and just where God has me today, I really think, obviously it started, He created me. And so that had a big influence on my life, having my grandparents in my life on a regular basis. And and just a family that I had, several aunts and uncles that were my elders, and we were just we would go sit around my grandpa and grandma's place, and you would listen to stories, and you would just hear just all the wisdom that they had in life, the life they had lived. And I think at the core, that certainly has impacted me, and has led me, where I am. As I kind of then maybe skip a bit here, I started my career really in healthcare management. So I started out in healthcare operations, and had been worked my way up into leadership roles, and got to the point where I felt like human resource was, I just, that was who I was. I really cared about people. I really felt like I could help people more broadly. And so I decided to go into human resources. And that's when I attended Cardinal Stritch and ended up in a human resource leadership role in healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
And spent a number of years there. And then really just got to the point where I felt, I think I want to go out on my own. I really was feeling like I had this opportunity. I had this gift to just impact a population. I felt like maybe where I was at was just maybe too small. I felt I could have a greater impact. And so, I didn't grow up thinking that I was going to own my own business. That was not, I was not like an entrepreneur, how some people are that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they mowed lawns and whatever, right?
Right.
I didn't really grow up thinking that. So when I started thinking about I wanted to do something on my own, it was kind of a surprise to me, and a life transition, right? So that experience really, I draw from that in what I do today as well. But decided to launch and started a small consulting in human resources initially. And the first company that was really the first company, my own. And then I happened to be having a conversation with my brother. And of course, my brother grew up in the same environment I did, and he too had just this very strong desire to connect with, for him, it was really the retired individual. He had an opportunity to work with some retired individuals in the banking industry. So we actually came together and formed a company called Experienced Resources back in 2005. And that was focused in the healthcare industry, bringing in leaders who had retired, quote unquote, and matching them to healthcare organizations that needed an infusion of their expertise for a short period of time. That company, we ran that company for 13 years. And then the environment in our market, we were in the Minnesota, Minneapolis, St. Paul, and kind of greater Minnesota market. And things started to shift, just the market started to shift a bit in healthcare. So we decided to dissolve our company at that time for a couple of reasons. One was just the two of us in different spots in our lives, and the toll that running a company was having on both of us.
Yeah.
So again, another life transition for me. And from there, I decided to start this company, LYNC3, with a very targeted focus on really helping leaders grow personally and professionally. And then that really morphed into that work. I had the opportunity, we had a client, a very large client we were working with that had asked us to come in and help them with cultural systems transformation work. their 40 plus year CEO had given his retirement notice. And they had been talking with us about how we could help that transition from an organizational perspective. You know, how do you help the organization, its employees, the community, the board really prepare for such a transition? And it was during that engagement that I ended up having a really special opportunity to work with the CEO one-on-one and really prepare him to enter, not only exit his organization, but to enter into retirement. And what we're talking about today really morphed out of that.
Mhm.
I just really had such a fulfilling experience with him, and he would say the same.
Mhm.
So that really is what I guess has led me here.
That is incredible. I love this. Isn't it amazing how life just kind of happens and it takes you where you need to go and you're building skills the whole time just to get to that place where you're living in your purpose and you are getting to help others and give back.
Yes, absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
rewarding. So rewarding. That is so cool. I love it. So, like I said, change is situational, but transitions are psychological. We know that. And
Mhm.
so, how do you help and coach and develop some of your leaders that have an identity with their title and their role, and they're having a hard time seeing themselves without that?
Mhm.
And And so they're struggling with a lot of emotions and a lot of fear and a
Mhm.
lot of uncertainty. And sometimes they're clinging and won't let go. And sometimes they're ready to jump off. It varies from person to person. But I know that when I've coached people through these types of transitions, each individual responds in a completely different way. So, can you share from your experience, maybe a healthy transition versus a not so healthy transition?
Sure, sure. Yeah. Yeah, well, to start, I think, to your point, really using the tools. So you mentioned just tools that we use to help individuals. And I do start with the multi-science behavioral assessment, driving forces, and EQ.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times when I initially am having the conversation with the leader, oh, I've been through assessments before, right? Like I've taken, and I always say yes, and I respect that. And this tool just will I always say it's like on steroids. Like, yes, it's that, it's similar to what you've experienced, only deeper,
Mm-hmm.
deeper and broader. And so I really that is kind of the foundation we start with, to just say, okay, we, our leaders, these individuals, to your point, they've had successful careers, and so they know what they're really good at,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so what I begin to do is just help them see, affirming, yes, these are your strengths.
Mm-hmm.
That this is really what has brought you to the point of this successful, career.
Mm-hmm.
And now, how can we begin to look at these things through a different lens?
Mm-hmm.
How do we pull out this information? And some of it they know, but this tool is so amazing that it does pull out things that maybe they don't know. Maybe they hadn't really thought about it in that way,
Right.
right? So
Absolutely.
it's a really great foundation to start with, to say, okay, is this you? Yes. Um, and then helping them begin to see how those traits, those strengths, can start to prepare them for thinking about what is next.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
absolutely.
a big part of it, I would say.
Yeah, and what you just spoke to is mindset. And it's amazing how we can get in a fixed mindset like that of, I've already done this.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you haven't done this one, and you may have done it 10 years ago. And I don't know if you even read a book or watch a show, something hits you different at a different time in your life because you're not ready to listen. And we get stuck in those ruts and those mindsets. And I would say that's a mindset issue.
Mm-hmm.
And so having a coach, having somebody to let you know when you're in a fixed mindset, I mean, nobody says, hey, I think a growth mindset's a bad idea, but they don't recognize when they have a fixed mindset.
Yeah, such a good point. Yeah.
Right? We all
Yeah.
think we have a growth mindset,
Yes.
but there's
Yes.
many areas where we don't.
Right.
And
Right.
so having and working with somebody that can offer a lot of different perspectives and tools and see different things that you can't see because you're in the weeds and you're actually emotionally hijacked in
Mm,
this phase of life because this
yeah.
transition is psychologically got you pulled in a lot of different emotions. So you're in
Absolutely.
the weeds, you're in the trenches, you're still trying to hang on, and then you're also trying to take the leap, and then you've got all these fears, and do I want to spend time with my significant other? Like, do I want to be with them all the time? And how much money am I gonna, like there's a lot of things going on this time. And
Yes.
and so having someone help you through your mindset is huge, and see where you have a fixed mindset. And the tools, you're right, they're deeper and broader. They're not just going to tell you what your strengths are. That's really nice to know, but what are your opportunities to improve upon?
Absolutely.
And what can you leverage? And what in the perfect world, what would your retirement look like, or your repurposing? Maybe now you can coach and mentor. Maybe now you could do the thing. Maybe you could work at a wine bar. Maybe you could do the things that or for me, maybe I'll be a marine biologist in my retirement because I wanted to be one as a little girl. Maybe I'll let turtles go and swim with dolphins. I have no idea. But I do know what my strengths are, and moving from strength to strength. I don't know. There's a book I would recommend for anybody looking at retirement is Arthur Brooks's From Strength to Strength.
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't had the chance to read the book yet, but it's on my list.
Oh, it's incredible, and um, it will help people to see that there is so much to be had in this second phase, or that the third script or whatever in life, and that it
Yeah.
doesn't need to be as scary and as overwhelming as sometimes we make it in our heads.
Right. 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 Well, so I think, leaders, successful leaders, uh, struggle with emotional intelligence, and they don't even realize it.
Yeah.
And I think once, as I work with leaders and we start to, dive deeper and really kind of get them to open up about, what really is it that they are experiencing. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that is where you really begin to make the connection. And
Absolutely.
they can really get in tune with themselves.
Yeah, and you're bringing up a really good point as it relates to emotional intelligence, and I love that we use the same tools, and we know how we use them, and why, and all that. But what I find too is the higher you go, and this is in the research too, but the higher you go in title, the less feedback you get from people because you are in a power position over people. So the people aren't necessarily giving you the feedback that you want or that you need. And
Mm.
so having someone like yourself or myself to work with them and talk with them about those internal fears and the things and the multitude of transitions. What most people don't recognize how many transitions they may be going through at one time. Retirement's not the only transition. They may be going through some hormonal changes, some physical changes to their body, uh, menopause or andropause, or, like losing testosterone, the things that are happening physically. And not to
Mhm.
mention, maybe at that time, maybe you had kids later in life. Maybe you're also having empty nesters, or you're becoming an empty nester, or maybe you recently got a divorce as well, and your relationship's in a different phase. So there's personal, there's physical, there's physiological. Maybe you're struggling with some anxieties. Maybe you had some people pass away recently. Um, there's a lot of different transitions that we could be going through at the exact same time, which brings a lot of emotions to the table. And
Yeah.
people are not even aware of it. And actually, we know by the research that only 15% of people across all industries, including healthcare, higher ed, engineers, are actually self aware.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Huge.
it is huge. And so, I mean, I think it takes some humility to recognize I know I've worked this career, but there's things I might not know.
Yeah.
And I know that there's people that can help me through this, and I'm worth that investment.
Yes. Yes.
I've worked my whole life, and I'm going to invest in myself, whether that be a coach, whether that be a program, whether that be a retreat, something that helps you figure out and connect on a different level and have a support for this type of life transition.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we'll actually talk about, how if you look at your financial portfolio and everyone connects with that, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready to retire because financially I'm ready to like I've got the financial right
Yeah, that's
confidence. And what we'll talk about sometimes with our clients is, how much are you investing in fees to ensure financially you are secure in your retirement?
mm-hmm.
How big is the portfolio that they have?
Mm-hmm.
And what's the percentage of that portfolio that they're investing to make sure that they have that security,
Mm-hmm.
right? So then we flip that to, okay, a purposeful, meaningful, successful life in retirement. What's that value? What's that worth?
Mm-hmm.
It's priceless.
Mm-hmm.
And so we try and kind of make that connection because, we put all that effort into making sure financially we're ready, but we're not so good at putting effort and resources, right?
Mm-hmm.
Time, money, talent, whatever that is, into, really thinking about what's my life going to be like and how am I going to contribute? How am I going to finish well, finish strong? And what does
Absolutely.
that even mean to me,
Right.
right?
Absolutely. And what does success look like in this stage of my life? It might be
Yes,
time to rewrite that script.
yes, yeah.
And you're so incredibly right. All of that financial stuff is extrinsic. None of it's
Yes,
intrinsic. We focus on extrinsic all the time. We're an
absolutely.
extrinsically, how do I look? What do I have? What do I drive? What do I wear? What extrinsic, and it brings zero happiness. It's fleeting. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter how much money you have if you're
no,
miserable. In fact, statistically, the richer you are, the more oftentimes you're more miserable. And this, especially if you're not finding that meaning and that purpose, it doesn't matter if you can travel the world if nobody wants to travel with you.
right,
or,
right.
or you've made all this money, but your kids can't stand you. Like that, it's not going to be a very helpful place to be. We have
Well,
to take time to focus on that intrinsic, the internal stuff, and be willing to put as much time, talent, money, resources into our inner being or our soul, and what that looks like for us as we finish strong.
agree, agree.
People just
Yeah,
don't think about it though, because the
no,
society doesn't, it's countercultural.
correct. Right, right. And many leaders that I'm working with, they've been on this hamster wheel, right? They're working, how many hours a week, a day, just the time they put into it.
Yeah. And then they base their worth on their productivity. So how will
Yeah,
they have any worth when they retire? What will
yeah,
they be useful? What are they bringing to this world? Those are some big questions, and that's super helpful to have somebody there on your side to help you navigate, or at least punch in a few new directions in the GPS system, right?
right,
Help you
right,
navigate
absolutely,
that rough terrain.
right.
It doesn't
I think
have to
that's
be.
kind of,
Yeah.
oh, I'm
I
sorry.
was, I was gonna say it doesn't have to be that rough. There's
No,
help and support,
agree, agree.
but it takes
And I think,
humility. Sorry, it takes humility.
yes, yes, yeah. Yes, and I think, I've had I'm sure you've had conversations, um, or have heard individuals who, on the other side of it, in fact, just the other day, I was talking with an individual who he was saying, yeah, my neighbor retired. And I met him at the end of the driveway, and he's like, I'm bored. I should have never retired.
Hmm.
And that just touches me. Like, it's like, can you give me that person? Can
Yes.
I help?
Can I
I
have?
just want to help that person.
Me
It's like,
too. Yeah.
it doesn't have to be that way.
And that's also a mindset. There's so much you could dive into, but you haven't been curious, right? Like you're just focusing on everything that sucks in the life you did have versus what's the opportunities, what's the possibilities? How could I be involved? How could I bring forward all the skills and knowledge? Whether that's being with your grandkids and showing them, or building stronger relationships with people that you worked too hard and forgot about for many years, or maybe it's it's traveling and learning about new cultures, maybe it's writing a book, maybe it's going back to school and having cheap education because you can get it for $5 a credit, like, and being a
Yeah.
lifelong learner. I mean, there's the opportunities are endless, but you need a tour guide.
Right. Totally.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so that's I mean, that's what I see it as, someone to help guide you through that. If you're going into a brand new country, it's nice to find out a little bit ahead of time what's good to do. We're booking travel right now to places, and we're scoping it out. We know this is coming and trying to find people that can help us and can guide us and can tell us instead of just winging it, right? And
Right.
so and then
Right.
getting there and go, I wish I would have known this. That sucks. I mean, like, it's good to find out. And that is what you can do when you're looking to retire too. So this is one area that we're both passionate about because I think we've been through a lot of our own life transitions and
Absolutely.
transitions from career to career and from strength to strength. And I really believe that there's a lot of different ways this can be done, and in even a variety of ways. Like I said, coaching and
Hmm.
programs. Like you have an actual program too, right?
Hmm.
Where
Hmm.
how's that? Share with us about that.
Yeah, yeah. So as I mentioned, I start with kind of that foundation, the assessment tool, and then coaching. So
Mm,
it's kind of a package. It's that foundational and then the one-on-one coaching, and I put together a cohort
mm,
where we have the opportunity to come together with like-minded, and just hear, we have a topic. Sometimes we'll have guest speakers
mm,
and come together on a regular basis with a cadence that we can have conversations about specific topics that are surrounding, all the things that we're talking about, all
mm,
the different, um, just thinking things through. What are the opportunities, but also what are the feelings that we're feeling, and
mm.
people who have gone through it that have been successful, how did they do it? And just have an opportunity to share each other's stories and to learn from one another.
Yeah, collective wisdom. Oh, it's so
Yeah,
good.
Absolutely.
and that support a cohort offers. Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's
Yeah.
how we've talked about how we can help each other is, I could be a speaker on your things and
Yes.
and visit with those people, and then having multiple people come to talk to your groups, having the support of one another and that network, having a coach for the one-on-one, that's huge. And then another thing that I find very helpful is we lead a lot of retreats. And I see this as a very good opportunity too for people to get away and kind of
Yeah.
do a soul search and really connect with other people on a long, like a week long experience,
Sure.
outside of their country, outside of their network. And so that's something that we like to work with our clients to do that. And we could do cohort based retreats. And I think
Sure.
we already have several locations that we've done retreats and that we're going to be doing retreats in the future. And so I think it's a way that we could work together to service people that need some help and really want to get a tour guide for
Yeah.
this part of their life.
Yeah. Really
Yeah,
leverage what we can do together.
yeah,
Yeah.
I
I
love it.
like, and then you and I did talk also about just the online opportunity for adult learning and development. And I
Hmm.
think, exploring that, what are as they think about, what do I want to do in that, whatever we call it, right?
Hmm.
Second half, fourth quarter. Um, there may be some skill sets that, hey, I want to do this, but I don't have that skill set today. How do I develop that? So I'm doing some research, and you and I talked a little bit about that too,
Hmm.
how to have a meaningful online learning and development resource that they
Hmm.
can go to and gain some new skill sets.
Absolutely. Have you heard of Modern Elder Academy?
No, I have not.
Okay, recently did a retreat there, and that is actually a middle-aged school, and there's a lot of online resources through them, and we're really involved with their work, and I've taken a lot of coursework through them, and just really find Chip Conley and all of his cronies to be really thought leaders in this area, and I've found their resources to be very helpful, and I'm certified in the transitions. Like I've went through their workshops and finding purpose and those things. So that could be of use to you. It could be of use to our listeners. Um, but they're really diving into this science of, because people are living longer. Well, in certain areas, we as a society we're living longer than ever, but also we do know that ages 22, I think, to 55 are actually having more um, deaths of deaths of despair, more suicides, more overdoses, and things like that. So we're living longer, but we're also having an area of our population that is dying earlier, and that's rising faster than ever. And so we have some emotional crisis and some mental health issues. We've got loneliness at an all-time high as an epidemic. There's a lot of things going on our world, and so this is why support and having like-minded
Mhm.
individuals that are going through things are super important, and that human connection is super important, and that's what this can feel for people when they feel like they don't have that support and they feel like they're alone in this and they don't know how to navigate it and they don't share their fears. This is a space where they can have their needs met and do it with joy and with grace.
Absolutely. That's actually a good segue to, I was mentioning this book that I'm reading or that I've read, and I actually use this in some of the work that I do. Have you heard of The Purpose in the Fourth Quarter by Bernie Brown?
No.
So, actually, one of the clients that I had been working with had suggested the book to me. We were kind of going through a book study with another book, and he's like, "Oh, I found this other book," and he found value in it, and he shared it with me. And so if I could just read a little clip from this, because it's a great segue to just what you're saying, I think.
Please.
So again, it's Purpose in the Fourth Quarter by Bernie Brown. And he says here, first, we need to be loved and not lost. So many of us are lost. We are living our lives aimlessly and often recklessly. The message that I hear constantly is do your own thing. You only have one life to live. Just do it. So as the old Frank Sinatra song suggests, I did it my way. Certainly, it is important to be self-assured with good self-esteem, but I have learned over the years that wisdom is the realization of how little rather than how much I know. I truly believe that we all are to an extent lost. You cannot be saved until you know you are lost. And so many times we may not even realize how lost we really are.
That's beautiful. I got goosebumps.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, so I agree. I think there's an opportunity for us to just, help people live the life they were born to live, right? Like they were created for a purpose, on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, as you said, you matter. I matter.
Mm-hmm.
Your life matters. It matters.
Absolutely. And what could you do with that extra time? How much more impact could you have in that phase of your life when you're not on the hamster wheel
Yes.
and you're
Yes.
doing things that really fuel you?
Yes.
So I am so looking forward to working with you and some of your clients and some of my clients to co-facilitate and to bring people into awareness of retirement and what that can look like, and just help create a path and a lot of paths that they get to choose. They already have the answers inside of them.
Absolutely.
It's getting in this space where they have some options put in front of them. They have some deep questions asked at them. They have some reflection, and they have some real soul searching time to figure out what that looks like. And many people have put that behind them, and they've put their head down and stayed on the hedonic treadmill to avoid dealing with themselves, right?
Right. Right.
And so it takes some bravery and some courage to really, you know, and letting down of the ego to
Yeah,
really get into your soul.
absolutely. Right. Right.
Mm-hmm. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of spiritual intelligence, right? It's that next level. It's not just the emotional intelligence. I think at this level we're up into the spiritual intelligence plus space.
Absolutely. Yeah. And
So
that's really where I believe that have an opportunity, where God has led me. I really believe there's an opportunity how can we help?
right. Absolutely. And regardless of anybody's beliefs, if it's spiritual, it could be the universe, it could be, whatever their beliefs are, that can be a piece of finding out what brings value and joy to their soul and what they feel like how they want to contribute in this part of their journey,
Right.
the end of their
Right.
journey, as they get
Right.
closer to the grave.
Yes. Yes.
We got to get comfortable with that too.
Yeah, we do.
Mm-hmm. None of
We
us get
do.
out of here alive.
No,
So,
no.
it's something to really take into account and figure out your eulogy virtues versus your resume virtues.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
And I think that's Arthur Brooks. No, that's not Arthur Brooks. It's oh man, I can't think of who it is right now. Google it, someone. Oh man, our brains, they just don't hold stuff like they used to. That's this phase of life too. That's when we get into our crystallized intelligence, right? The younger we are, Arthur Brooks talks about this. You have your fluid intelligence. It's like when you're you're really brilliant. But then you get into this phase of life where you have this crystallized intelligence and you have pattern recognition, you have wisdom, you have all this stuff, but your brain, it just doesn't remember as quickly, and it's just not as fast as it used to be. But there's still strengths in that crystallized intelligence phase of life that we
Yeah.
need to tap into. So, yeah, I love this talk, and I love the work that you're doing. So how will people sign up for your cohorts, and how do they get involved in your work?
Yeah. Yeah. So, um, this is just a great opportunity because I've actually have not really been um, putting myself out on social media as much. I've dabbled in it, but have quite frankly just my own like, can I
Mm,
do this?
I hear you.
So actually, I'm working with an individual to just really get put more exposure, get more exposure, if you will, out on Instagram and LinkedIn, and just get a little bit bigger of a presence
Hmm.
there. Right now, um, I've been just really focusing on my current network and, close friends, and kind
Hmm.
of that referral, kind of expanding it that way up to this point. But certainly, if somebody, as they're listening to this program and have interest in connecting with myself or you,
Mm.
for me, certainly either email,
What's your
text
website?
me. Pardon me.
What's your website?
Website is Lync3, and that's LYNC and the number 3.com.
Okay.
So
So they can find you
absolutely
that way. They can find you
find me
that
there.
way. And hopefully, you share this with your network. I'll share this with my network. We now have listeners in 10 countries. So so you might even have some global clients. So we're excited about that. But yeah, I am happy to promote this work because you're a gem and you've got a gift and you've done a lot of work to get to where you are, and you are giving back, and I want to help you fulfill your purpose in doing that, and I want to be a part of that journey, if, as little or as big as that ends up being. Who knows, but we're putting it out there, and we'll attract the people who really find this valuable,
Yeah,
and and I have no doubt that will attract the right people that are ready
well,
to
thank
that are
you.
ready. So
Yeah, yes,
not the right
yeah.
people, the ready people.
Ready people. Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
good point. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, thank you.
Well, likewise, I'm looking forward to it as well. This is exciting, and
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to seeing, it grow and where it
yeah,
leads us.
yeah.
So,
So I want to ask you really quickly if one or two things that you wish you'd known earlier in your career, because we have a lot of younger listeners.
mm, the first thing I would say is I didn't become a Christian until I was 46 years old, and I wished I would have known what I know now. So that's the first thing that comes to my mind, actually.
Miss Faith?
Uh,
Yeah.
I think uh, I lacked the confidence. I I lacked confidence, and I think, knowing what I know now, I would have loved to have an opportunity to tap into an executive coach or a coach,
Mm-hmm.
whether it be a life coach or actually, I was talking with a another colleague of ours,
Mm-hmm.
a younger colleague of ours that does similar to what we're doing, and she was telling me her story, and she has been working with a coach for 10 years,
Wow.
and she's a younger, she's newer in her career, and that just struck me, and I thought, I could have, life. I'm living the life I was supposed to live, but
Mm-hmm.
that is one thing I think is very valuable that I wished I would have had.
Me too.
Because I
Absolutely.
didn't really have it in my family unit. I wasn't getting it there.
Yeah, me too. And I did have mentors and stuff, this is completely different and way more impactful. So I agree that'd be something that I would absolutely invest in myself
Yes,
intrinsically, not extrinsically,
yes,
right? I would
yes,
definitely do that over all the money I've spent on dumb things that didn't bring any value over time.
yes,
So,
yes,
yeah.
right.
Yep.
Trying to figure it out on my own,
Yeah. Yeah.
thinking I could figure it out on my own,
Oh,
right?
yes. We live in a very rugged, individualistic society. And you
Yes,
better, so I would definitely get more collective wisdom myself too. I would ask for help more. Yeah,
yes.
that's good stuff. Thank you for your time today. I had such a pleasure getting to know you better and to see the work that you're doing. And I look forward to seeing what you accomplish and how you get to help people fulfill that whatever you want to call it, last half, third,
Yeah,
fourth,
yeah.
third act, whatever.
Right, right, exactly, exactly.
Well,
It has been just a pleasure.
yeah,
Thank you, Angie.
thank you,
I'm just so pleased and blessed. Thank
thank you,
you.
thank you. And thank you for listening to the Leader You podcast. If you found this podcast helpful, please share it and like and subscribe.